If Judgment or Wisdom come into the game, I'm just going to become a man of the wild. Okay, I live in Minnesota. There's plenty of wilderness. I'm just going to go, and I'm going to discover my manhood.
Hey everybody, what's up? Circus here, coming at you with another top 10 video. This one's gonna be the top 10 longest lasting decks in Duel Links. And right away, I want to thank Resaline for coming up with all the data on this one. So thank you very much for the idea.
Resaline gave us a huge list of decks to pick from. She gave us all of the dates, which I definitely wasn't gonna look up, and then she also gave us like half the deck list we were using. So
right.
Big thanks to Resaline.
So if you have any complaints, make sure to address Resaline in the comments below.
Dude, yeah, it's not my fault this time.
We were given like 20 decks and then we chose 10. So as with any top 10 video, we're always going to miss something, right? Because there's only 10. Because usually there's like 20 or 30 to pick from. We got to pick 10. You know.
Yeah, and plus in this video, you might like disagree with some of the placements, but I really wanted to capture like the investment required for that deck versus how long it lasted. Right. So I want to like think about that. We'll explain it as well. So something that lasts as long, but it's like number 2, 1, whatever, is probably just really cheap.
All right. Well, let's just get right into it then, Mr. Cheapskate. Let's see. Number 10. Cyber Dragons. January 2020 till today. Still going.
Yeah. Yeah, and they're a deck that just doesn't seem to die, really. I mean, they're relevant in every single Koa'ki Cup since they were released. They're always a deck that just becomes extremely degenerate. So this is a list pretty similar to what they played when they were released. That's why, like, the 3 Overflow and all of that. And Cyber Style procced off of 1,000 life points, stuff like that. And originally, it was a fairly cheap deck. I mean, it's gotten a little more expensive now that people need Fusion Gate and stuff like that. But it's just one of those decks that just sacks. Just absolutely sacks.
What made it so great?
I think the common theme in all of these decks is you need to be able to search and you need to be able to have disruption. Those are the two things that makes a deck great. So the primary searcher in this deck is Cyber Dragon Core, and you can search your disruption as well as you can play Kanadi and Cosmic Cyclone, which can protect yourself from disruption and disrupt your opponent. It's just a really good overall round sack deck.
Do you think we'll see decks like this in the future with the similar properties, qualities?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is just a very generic kind of form of like what makes a deck good in any card game in general. Is you need to be able to be consistent. So you need to have some kind of searcher or some way to like draw power, get through the deck, as well as you want to be able to stop your opponent from doing their plays as well. So
is this a really good example of a OTK style?
This is a wonderful example of OTK style. Even in the TCG, Cyber Dragons are a very OTK based deck. If they need more than a couple turns, they're probably going to die, which is, I mean, true in any format that they've played in, because they don't play a lot of monsters. Their monsters don't do a lot of things on their own. They really need to blow everything up and kill you right away.
I think modern decks play what, like 5 monsters? I think. I'm not even kidding. I think that's what it's down to now, isn't it?
Yeah, it depends upon if you're playing the how many Fusion Gate you're playing. It just depends upon all of the ratios. But yeah, they've cut down to like probably 2 Veer, I think. So I think it's like they've cut it down to like 5 or 6 monsters.
Well, it doesn't. I think you could honestly just play 1, right? Just because you're always going to open the core anyways.
I think some lists have cut it down to 1 Veer, but I'm not sure. Like a lot of it comes down to preference.
All right, let's check out the next deck then. I have to say Cyber Dragons. I hated them because I was playing Lunalights for a while, and there was a KC Cup where the two were just, you know,
duking it out.
Just very prevalent, and running into Cyber Dragons was always like, well, I guess I lose.
Yeah, let's scoop this one up, get on to the next one.
Yeah, all right. So moving on to number 9. What's it going to be? It is Element Sabers. Why is this so far on the list?
Yeah, this is far down on the list primarily because it was so expensive, and like it was just primarily because it was expensive, and I mean it wasn't as long lasting as I think a lot of people believe or tend to believe it was.
It felt like 4 years,
I mean
like it was around since the beginning.
it was just under a year. It was they were around for a long time, and towards the end of the time that they were around, they started to go down to like power level 2, power level 3, stuff like that. So they really started to fade when they started to die, which I guess is true for all of these decks.
Right.
But they were really only really strong for like 6 or 7 months when they were just like winning everything extremely
like
dominant.
every KC Cup, you know.
Yeah, I mean this was after the Sorcery Conduit nerf, so they weren't playing Cosmic Cyclone. This was the Palace nerf, so obviously they could still play Alistair. They could play Palace and Cosmic. They're playing Destiny draw, so they could have minus 2,000 draw free Alistair. Alistair in general, I think we could probably just call this the Alistair portion. Honestly, that's what made Element Saber so good because they had like really, and I honestly think that this has been the best version of an Alistair deck, which is why I think that should be its representative. Because if you look at Palace and Malehu, man, they do so much work if you don't open Alistair.
Right. Well, yeah, the built-in Canadia is ridiculous, and then people weren't they playing like Floodgates and Canadia and Malehu all at the same time?
Yeah, at one point, I mean, the Fiendish Chain is more of like a meta call, but if you needed to flip down more stuff, you just play like 3 Canadia, 3 Flood, 3 Malehu, and then just have like 9 flip downs in your deck, which is kind of really oppressive in like a synchro focused era. You just flip everything down and say, yeah, Perk a Trio, have some fun. Which is why I think like this deck really flourished in the department of disruption.
I was gonna say, was this the ultimate? Was it the ultimate control deck?
Honestly, I think it's probably the best control deck we've had in Duel. I mean, like it just has everything. Like it has searchability. Your disruptions thin your deck so you can have better draws going forward. You only play like you don't even play any garnets. Like there's nothing that you don't want to draw in this deck. Everything is something that you want to draw. Everything is something that's going to help you in the game. Everything is going to make life difficult for your opponent, which is why I think this deck is probably one of the best to ever play the game.
Right, because if you drew the Alistair, bonus. If you drew Malehu, that's good. If
and
you drew the Palace, that's good. You know.
And all of the Element Sabers can change their art, like their type in the grave. So any Element Saber in the grave equals Perk a Trio. Which is absolutely like, and plus, even if you kind of break, like you're a lot of times still able to make a Cocytus. So like if you open a Palace plus an Alistair, that's a Cocytus and pass, which a lot of times your opponent can't really deal with unless they draw into like their side decked outs or they're just gonna lose.
Well, do you remember the days of the 3 Cocytus?
Oh my goodness, I don't want to talk about all that.
Yeah, I can't remember the ban list. Did it go from 3 to 2 to 1, or did it go right from 3 to 1? I can't remember.
It went from 3 to 1, and Magellanico went from 3 to 2.
Okay.
So that was the first ban list when Neos, when it was like Invoke Neos running around. They hit Magellanica to 2 because they believed that 2 was like mandatory to play in the deck, and then they just started.
Oh, that's right, because you had the concentrating current OTK
and the
style.
Scrap Goblin and all that.
Actually, we'll get to that later.
Yeah, and then they just started.
Spoiler alert!
Cutting all that out of the deck, which is like I don't know. It's kind of crazy to think about.
All right, let's move on then. Let's move it right along, sir. Get into the number 8. What's it gonna be?
I don't know.
You don't remember? No, didn't you make this list?
I have no idea.
Oh, of course. It's not a Herf list without Dark Lords.
The Dark Lords. The reason that this deck isn't like number 1 is because A, they didn't last as long. But when they were relevant, they were the best deck in the meta, hands down.
7 months, right? And that was the longest 7 months in Yu-Gi-Oh for me. I wouldn't say I quit playing, but I definitely didn't play as much, and I really hated casting tournaments after a while. It wasn't even fun. And
this deck is a bit higher just because I think it's probably better than the 2 below it for the time that it was in. I mean, you see some overlap, and Dark Lords were the most undisputed deck around. Like this, it was like the January 2020 format when with Dark Lords in like January, February, like it was Dark Lords were they were close to being dead, but without that last ban list, we would probably still be seeing Dark Lords played, which is how insane they are. And this was like one of the first versions of the deck. Eventually, they moved on to compensation, but this is when they were able to play Destiny Draw. And then
they played
Destiny
like 12 different skills, didn't they? Every time it got nerfed, they just went to a new skill and it was OP.
Yeah, it was like new skill, new me. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, they played Destiny Draw, they played Compensation, and they played No Mortal Can Resist.
And Beatdown.
And Beatdown. I think Beatdown might have actually been the first one.
Beatdown got nerfed. Yeah.
And Beatdown got nerfed almost immediately because you were able to put like 4,000 attack monsters on the board like turn 1, which is insane. And then they nerfed that, so they were like, okay, we'll just play Destiny Draw, and then just be able to Destiny Draw into Hatred Nade so we don't lose to back row. Sick joke. And then after that got nerfed, they're like, okay, well, we'll just play Compensation and then just get free tosses into the grave. Like, what? That's amazing because their grave is their second hand. So it's like, why? This doesn't even matter. And then after that got nerfed, they just went to No Mortal Can Resist, so they could just absolutely obliterate any graveyard-based strategy in the game.
So this was also I guess, would you say control OTK kind of thing? It was a little of both, right? Or was it more control?
Initially, Dark Lords were very OTK based. They had the option to stall, but nobody played it that way. Everyone played it like Superbia into Desire into OTK. I win the game, have fun, sweet. And then over time, as the deck got weaker and weaker, they were like, okay, well, I can't. They stopped playing Superbia, which was your main OTK card, and they started playing in a way that made Circus's life a living hell.
Yes, the stall, which was the infinite loop.
They can literally never deck out and never run out of life points.
Right.
That is degenerate as it comes.
Right.
But it was just a big problem in Duel Links, and I did like Dark Lords a lot when they were around, but I'm thankful they're gone.
Yeah, just ultra consistent, right?
Yeah, I mean the reason this deck was so good is that it had Banishment. And Banishment said, I can search any Dark Lord card in the deck, as well as Ixchel could draw 2. So you had 2 of the best ways to get through your deck. You had the drawing and the searcher, which are the only 2 ways. But you had both of them. And your searcher could search your draw power could get your search power, and then off of that you could spam big bodies, and then you had negates, which were their only form of disruption in their opponent's turn. But which is why this deck isn't a little bit higher, because the disruption a negate is good, but it's not amazing in Duel Links. But still, it's amazing.
So far, a lot of the stuff that these decks have in common are what sets them apart is their searchers are better than other searchers. They're higher quality searchers.
Yeah, like we have technically, if you want to look at Nordics, they have a searcher that says get any Nordic card from your deck to your hand. But crap. So it has to sit there. The thing that sets this deck apart from something like Nordics is that their searcher is a spell. I can just say this card equals anything in my deck.
Right.
Which makes it a 17 card deck. Because those 3 cards are anything.
Right.
So, which is absolutely.
Why isn't this number 1?
Well, because it didn't last as long. This deck only lasted about 6 or 7 months.
Right. Okay. Well, that was the longest 6 or 7 months of my life. All right. Let's get into the next one here. Number 7. Dun, 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 dun. What is it? Oh, Dark Magician.
Dark Magician.
People were calling this the insect deck.
Very close to a year.
Yes.
And actually, Dark Magician just got top 8 with Desperado. It's a Desperado Dark Magician deck.
Yes. Yes.
Just got top 8 in the Meta.
Did we lose to that on the ladder?
We did lose to that on the ladder.
We did, yeah, with Fire.
And we felt terrible, but I guess a lot of other people should feel terrible too, so I don't feel as terrible.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I still feel
But this deck is kind of crazy when you think about it. Because initially they weren't playing balance, but I think that's the example we have is a balanced list. And why balance is so broken with this deck is that you're guaranteed a monster spell and trap.
Right.
And the best spell in your deck is Circle. So when you have a 50-50 chance of opening a Circle. Okay, the best combination of monsters is either a Rod or a Dark Magician, which you're almost guaranteed to have every single time. And then you had a 50-50 shot to get your navigation. Now, both your Circle and your Rod can both get you your navigation, which is your full combo. So that's pretty good. Also, I think I missed an illusion magic. Whoops.
Oh, we gotta redo the video. Okay.
And just cross out a Rod for
no,
illusion
gotta redo
magic.
the whole video.
No, we're not redoing the whole video.
We're starting over. Redoing the video.
No, we're not. Anyway.
Please comment about that in the comment section below.
Anywho.
Hate Herf.
Illusion magic is in there to search your Dark Magicians to get your full combo as well. So like the deck was just ultra consistent, as well as it had amazing removal on your opponent's turn and negates for follow-up. Like so again, all of those things just come full circle.
Just great starting hand and then unbelievable searching.
Yeah, so searching is the most overpowered mechanic in card games, hands down.
Right.
Just getting anything. Because if your combo has a pulse, the access to that combo will be enough to win you games, hands down. Like, or should be every single time.
A lot of times, these guys go first. The Dark Magician goes first, and what do?
You scoop.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, they went first. I can't play. There's another deck on this list that has a very similar play style. If they went first, you're just like, well, I got nothing. Spoiler alert, so stay tuned for that. But it's kind of the same thing. It's like, I'm going to summon a monster, they banish it. Well, I got no recovery.
My protection in their turn is spell or traps, which they're just going to negate with navigation. Right. I have no outs. Okay, scoop it up. Let's go to game 2.
Right.
Which is why this deck is so unbelievable, in my opinion.
All right. Unbelievably bad. All right, let's move on to the next one. Number 6. What is it, Herf? What is it? I can't remember. It's Black Wings.
Black Wings going on over a year now.
I think this one's on here because it's never been like that great. I know a lot of people can be like, hate Circus right now. It's been good. But if you followed like a graph, like a line graph, it'd be up and down, right? Up and down, up and down, up and down.
They've never been oppressive, but they've never been bad.
Right.
You know, they're always bouncing between like power level 3, power level 2.
Right.
Always kind of sitting in that area where, sure, they lose to Disruption going second, but you know they have stuff like Cosmic Cyclone.
Mm-hmm.
They have stuff like Glance. And plus you have to go first with your Disruption, otherwise you automatically lose.
Yeah.
So I mean those odds are pretty good. So this was a list that actually just got second in a battle phase, I think last week.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean this kind of shows you. I mean, they're playing Heat Wave, so even if they go first, they can go second. They're doing stuff like, I mean, it's just incredible. I mean, this guy's only playing 2 Whirlwind because I guess he only feels like he needs 2 Whirlwind. But just the hyper consistency. I mean, Whirlwind is an insane searching card because when that Simoon hits the board, you get to search for as many face-up Whirlwinds as you have. So that Simoon by itself is at least 1 search. And if you have another Whirlwind, that's 2 searches. Now, Simoon doesn't count as your official normal summon for the turn. It normal summons for effect. So if you have another level 4 in your hand, like something like Chris, that's another 1 to 2 searches. So at a bare minimum, you're getting 2 searches on your first turn. At best in this deck, you'd have 4 searches on your first turn. If you play 3 Whirlwind, at best, you could have 6 searches on your first turn, which is something no other deck in the game has right now.
And just the way their monsters summon themselves. Like,
yeah,
if you control another one, summon this one. If you control another one, summon this one. You know,
if you have one of them, you have them all, basically.
Right. So this one has the searching, but then the ability to spam like no other deck, right?
Yeah, like you normal summon Chris, you search your Gale, you search another Gale, you search your Harmatan. And then you just
I mean, you can synchro summon and then keep summoning after that. And
you know, if you want your own Amaru, get your own Amaru. Attacks for 6,000 damage. You know, if you want to just pop all the cards on the field, you can do that with Rakiri and then summon it back with Hawk Joe. Do it all again. and then summon your own meiru and attack for 6,000. Like, you can do whatever you want because this deck can just, like, with 6 searches, you should be able to do whatever you want. Like, that's half your deck. It's insane. Which is why this deck is on the list.
That's right. So common theme, searching.
Mm-hmm.
I think this one spams better than any one we've seen so far on the list, by far.
For sure.
All right, let's move on to number 5, and that is Koa'ki meiru. Koa'ki.
Yeah, a lot of people experience this, and like you said before, a lot of people, this was the longest, 6-7 months of their life.
This was a 7 months, again, a short one, but it was I almost say it's worse than the for hire meta, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, this could be a lot lower on the list, like, honestly. Mm-hmm. However, I put this at number 5 because you saw iterations of it. So this is like January 19 to July 19 was the pure Koa'ki meta. And then after that, we still had like 4 or 5 months of just people putting 3 Diamond Core, 1 Maximus, 1 Iron Core into any deck. Just so they could have a free Maximus. Which is why it's at number 5. So, like, it says, 7 months. However, Koa'ki meiru, this ability lasted a lot longer.
I think it's one of those decks, kind of like Dark Lords, where people were going out of their way to keep bringing it back. Because it was so good. It's like, I'm going to mix it with anything I can. Because wasn't there, like, Koa'ki Neos or something like that for a while?
That's on the screen right now.
Is that what we're looking at? Yes.
Yep.
Okay. So this was one of the iterations of things that happened after it was nerfed.
Yeah, this was a bit after the nerf and after the first initial wave of nerfs, and they got Neos Fusion, which allowed them to just dump a Bacon Saver and have a body that would protect itself on the field. So it gave them a very reliable turn 1, and then it gave you the deck just inherently has amazing follow up, right? So Neos Fusion by itself got 2 cards out of the deck, so that made it. So if you're going first, you'd have 16. So you'd have to draw from 14 cards. So you thin the deck extremely well as whatever is in your hand. So just Neos Fusion alone made the deck hyper consistent because it reduced your deck size so much.
And at the time, Neos out on the field turn 1 with the Fusion in the grave was actually a strong play. Nowadays, it's not as strong, with all the back row and stuff we have. But back then, that was a very strong turn 1 play.
Yeah, I mean, especially with Bacon Saver, like you had a negate attack plus protection from battle and card effects. So, I mean, you had two battles. I mean, really, this whole engine, both of these engines lasted much longer than they probably should have because they were so small.
Mm-hmm. Now, this one doesn't seem like it has the search capability as much as the other decks. I mean, it's got the diamond, I know, but if you don't draw into that, you're not searching it necessarily, right?
Yeah, I would say the reason that this deck did so well is that not only did you have the ability to search, because both Brave Neo searched more Neos Fusions, and Diamond Core searched any Koa'ki meiru in your hand, in your deck and protected them. So initially it seems like, well, how would this be that consistent? But if you open Neos Fusion, like I said, you're dumping 2 cards out of your deck. So really, if you draw into Neos Fusion, you get to subtract your deck size by 2, which doesn't seem like a lot, but if you go from 16 to 14, your chances of drawing missing combo pieces goes up significantly. So that's why this deck was so good and so consistent. As well as Kyber Core Bling. Kyber Core Bling is there. So Cosmic Cyclone equals anything that's glossy in your deck. So really, you had the ultimate searcher right there.
Right. And maybe that's what it relied on more than anything. Because it looks kind of like, if you're looking at this version, we got the DD Assailant, we got the Karibo. So we're definitely stalling there, right? Because we need to draw into things. So I don't think this one has the search capabilities of the other decks that we've seen. But somehow it was able to stall long enough, maybe play a Cosmic Cyclone or 2, and then get into Kyber Core Bling to get that Iron Core or the Diamond Core.
Well, you have 5 straight up searchers, as well as we said Brave Neos is a searcher.
Right, but this one doesn't have. Let's say you start with 2 ice and 2 Neos in your hand. You're dead in the water. Like with the other decks.
Like if you brick, you brick.
But the other decks seemed like they didn't brick as much. Like you seemed like you were more than likely going to draw into some kind of starter or some kind of searcher. Where this one doesn't seem like it has as many as the other decks.
Yeah, I mean this deck played more Garnets, but it was still.
I know it was a good deck. I'm not saying it wasn't. It just doesn't seem like it has the search capabilities of the other ones we were just talking about.
And I would say that shows you that this deck was even that much better because it plays so many more garbage cards. You know what I mean? Like right. You can play 2 vanilla cards that literally do nothing if you draw them, and you can still win multiple KC Cups.
Right.
That's pretty dang good.
Well, it was also probably obviously the meta they were in at the time. You get that Maximus out on the field, and that was just devastating. He was hard to get over too. It was like a big blue eyes that could then destroy a card on the field.
Yeah, I mean, it was basically an alternative. So
right for its time, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like the deck, it's a bit older than all of the other ones on the list. So that maybe, like you said, maybe does play into it a little bit. But I mean, overall, we're still probably one of the most consistent and long-lasting engines, at least the Koa'ki meiru engine. That have been in the game.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's move on to the next one then. At number 4, I feel like we're gonna miss some, and people are just gonna be so mad. I'm mad at us right now for missing some. I hope Resiline's not mad. All right, Shira Nui.
Yeah, people are having flashbacks right now.
Already lasted a whole year, and this deck went through a lot of changes.
Yeah, I mean, we could show all of the different iterations, but that could be an entire video, honestly.
Ooh, top 10 Shira Nui decks, YouTube.
Yeah, so you had like Grass Shira Nui with Spell Specialist, which was probably one of the most degenerate and overpowered decks of all time. And then after Grass got hit and Spell Specialist got hit, people went to like the hyper, small linear, like the 2021 card deck with level dupe. And then towards the end of its life cycle, people went to the back to a little bit bigger deck with the Ghost Meets Girl, all that kind of people called it the combo Shira Nui. I called it the less backer Shira Nui. You know what I mean? But overall, I mean the deck, it was consistent. I mean, it had less searching.
That's what I was gonna say. Yeah, but it had starters. You know what I mean? Kind of like different. Like you could get it going, but you didn't necessarily have to search to do it.
Yeah. Gozuki got you a free
level 2
to the grave.
Yep.
You had Solitaire, which gave you a free level 2 on the field plus follow up in the grave, and Squire, gave you an instant synchro. So you had 7 1-card starters, which is pretty dang good. And then like the Ghost Moose Girl version, there was like a handful of 2-card OTKs, which is pretty dang good. And I mean the Grass version, you almost always drew Grass, and if you resolved Grass, you just won the game.
Right.
So,
especially if it was prismatic, I remember, which most people.
Yeah, I mean, prismatic definitely played a factor in the power level of the deck.
Kaiba Court Bling Shira Nui, was that a thing?
No.
Should have been.
But yeah, I mean, like, there's not a lot to say about the deck because people already.
It literally just went away, so we all remember it quite well. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, everybody knows why it's so good. Not only is it very consistent, like you have a lot of 1-card starters, but you have a lot of follow up. It's extremely hard to out resource a smart Shira Nui player.
Yeah. All right, we'll get that garbage off the screen. But bam. All right, what's number 3? I don't remember the list. It is. Look at this. Look at this. December 20 to present. July 20 to September 20. April 19 to October 19. It's the Neos engine. Holy crap.
This is the engine that Konami loves to hate.
The little engine that could.
How about that? It's really a 3-card engine.
Right.
2 Neos Fusion plus 1 Brave Neos. That's why you can put this in literally any single deck that lacks a turn 1 play or wants to put a card in the grave.
Yes.
Like, there are so many different iterations of the Neos builds. Like, I think
the one we got here. This one's old and degenerate, but here you go.
Yeah, this is the old, like, Invoke Neos engine. or like
this is the
Neo.
flip flop frog. Yeah, this doesn't even have the scrap goblin. Yeah,
This
okay.
is one of the first versions of the deck. It's playing beatdown, all that stuff. You had Clash, you had Econ, you had Trench. Like, dude. Okay, so Alistair's a searcher, the Keeper is a searcher, the Neos Fusion is a dumper, Brave Neos is a searcher. Like, get out of town, man. Oh my, like, I mean, I guess we could talk about Neos again because we just talked about it being being so good. But it's amazing. And then Flip Flop Frog is non-targeting bounce to the hand.
It just fits in with everything. It's like MSG. You just want a little bit of it in everything, right? A little bit.
Yeah, I mean,
oh, this deck tastes terrible. Did you put Neos in it?
Dude, my computer's been running kind of funny. I think I'm gonna put a Neos engine.
Just put some Neos engine in it. It'll be delicious. It'll run perfectly.
Dude, I mean, I think so. I mean, my car just broke down the other day. I took it to the shop. They said, "Have you tried a Neos engine?" I said, "I haven't yet." And dude, it's been purring ever since.
Nice. The Neos engine can get anything started.
That's true.
They need to bottle it and sell it. You know what I mean?
I
like as an additive for gasoline. You just put that right in your tank. Little
Neos, like a copy of Neos engine.
Yep, little Neos engine. Just pour it right in there.
Oh my god, dude! I think my car would run so.
Can you imagine the mileage you get off of that?
Dude, I think I would win every single street.
You get one gallon per year, right? 1 year to the gallon.
Probably.
Or liter if you're overseas.
Yeah, I mean,
because this engine lasts forever, so 1 liter, 1 year. Easy.
Hey, that sounds good to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the deck played beatdown. You could get over pretty much anything. You played a lot of very toxic back row, which has all been semi-limited now. They weren't playing a back row that's still free.
Do you remember Neos Steel Swarm? Do you remember that?
Dude, yeah, Neos made everything good.
Right.
It made Steel Swarm like competitively viable. Right. You just dumped the cell to the grave, then the cell came back and you tributed over it.
Right.
It's insane. That should not be good in this game. Just add a dash of Neos.
Just add Neos. It's like you have a dehydrated deck. You just add a little Neos and whoop, ready to play. Oh my god. All right, let's move on before we get completely off the rails. All right. Number 2. What is I don't even remember. Let's go slow. What was it? May 18th to May 19th? Any idea? Oh, Amazons. That's it. Okay, just 1 year.
And technically, it's still a viable deck because we still recommend it to new players.
You would still get to Legend with it.
Yeah, I mean, the deck is still very, very playable. I mean, like, all of the decks on this list are playable.
Right.
But this deck is still, like, a very fundamental deck for new players, which shows you how long-lasting it is. I mean, like, this whole mechanic that this deck operates on is just still stupid good. And it's not as good as it used to be. Like, it's not like a top-tier deck. It's not topping anything. All that kind of stuff, but it's still good enough, right? Like, and that's the whole point.
It definitely had the searching, right? And it had a control aspect to it.
Searching, and it had so much disruption.
Yes.
So much disruption, as well as Onslaught is one of the dumbest cards in the game.
Oh, just untargeting banishing, just.
Yeah, if you interact with my monster, you're getting banished. Okay, thanks. Boop. Well, what? Which is why that this deck is, still like a viable new player option.
It's the Thanos card, right? Just
it's so cheap, and it's so good at the same time.
Yes.
Which is why we recommend it to new players. And
I like how this one's running Witch Raider.
Yeah, like this was the Witch Raider version. You just drop it down, you blow everything up. I'll blow up all the back row. You get all your stuff set up, and you just win. Easy peasy. Endless Trap Hell, you just get all of your traps back that you just used to tribute with Witch Raider.
Yep.
It's mental.
There was so many, like, this meta was very degenerate, though. Did you ever call an Amazon mirror match? Oh my god. They would just last forever. I think the famous story of Kamel calling a tournament and falling asleep in the finals of an Amazon mirror.
Somehow that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, they were definitely long and slow. But so this one has a searching, and for its time, I wouldn't say it was like ridiculous searching, but that princess.
Well, the princess was really 2 searches.
Right, because you could get the trap, and then when you attack, you could search again.
You get to special summon the queen from the deck. So really, it's a one direct search and another pseudo search. Right. So with a lot of disruption. So that's why this deck is so good. It has all of the good ingredients to make a good deck. It's a little dated now, maybe not as good, but still
pretty good.
Pretty good.
You know, we're to that point now. We're at number 2. We gotta do some honorable mentions, otherwise I think Rosaline's gonna kill us.
We have a lot of honor. Ancient Gears, one of my favorite decks. Ooh. February 2019 to September 2019.
How about Vampires? I gotta say Vampires, otherwise Rosaline would get mad at us for that one. Dude. Vampires mid-August 2018 to early April 2019. Oh, I'm sorry, August 2018. Sorry, August.
Ritual Beast, October 29 to September 2020. But really, I mean, I think that you could say that they're like still relevant. Honestly, I mean, we still see them topping every once in a while.
Red Eye Zombie. There you go. Yeah, mid-July 2017 to mid-March 2018.
I mean, you could say Red Eyes in general, and then just get the zombies plus the support later, and it's even longer. Why didn't we do that one?
Yep. For hires, yeah, June 2018 to January 2019.
I mean, the Lightsworn engine is still relevant. Late February 2020 to essentially present.
Six Sams, April 2019 to October 2019.
But yeah, all of these decks that we're talking about, they had ways to directly search things, or pseudo search them, and then they just made the most of it. They made their deck smaller, and they made their deck better.
Which is I just remember Vampires you could search and pop. That was just ridiculous. Kind of like Koa'ki's, you know, like you could search and then pop.
And the crazy thing about Vampires is that they were like the first like super graveyard based deck. Like that was a new mechanic when they were just able to continuously special summon stuff from the grave. Like that was something that didn't really happen until
Vampires. And that one had a cost though, remember? I mean you were paying a lot of life points to do it.
Yeah, but they were playing stuff like Kybercore Bling or Bandit, stuff like that, as well as you had the spell that when you dealt battle damage, you got to gain your life back.
Right.
So they had ways to like make the most of it and then circumvent it. So yeah, you could play the Kybercore Bling and then just essentially just draw your econs for a game every single time.
And I'm gonna do one focus real quick on one honorable mention: Ancient Gears. If anybody remembers that meta, the day that deck came out, it flooded the ladder. I remember, I'm not even kidding, I'm not exaggerating, playing like 12 in a row on the ladder, and everybody's all excited about the new Blue Eyes structure deck coming out. I'm just saying, get used to playing 12 Blue Eyes in a row.
Yeah, I mean...
That's the way it was with Ancient Gears. When that came out, it was just, everybody had it because it was so cheap, and it was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the Ancient Gears structure deck kind of set the bar for structure decks, really. I mean, we could talk about the Blue Eyes one that came just before it, but Ancient Gear, I think, was the first, like, meta warping structure deck.
You could special summon from the deck in the battle phase.
Yeah, I mean, that was really... And you couldn't activate anything. You couldn't activate anything.
Yeah, you couldn't respond.
Which is why, like, honestly, it has been one of the strongest decks in the game, but like it's just prone to bricks. It has its problems, has its clear main deck counters. But
I just brought it up because get used to seeing Blue Eyes, because that's, you know, just saying. All right, let's move on to number 1. Then we named a lot of decks, but we didn't name the number 1 deck.
My least favorite deck in history.
All right, let's get into number 1 then. Here we go. When is it?
Honestly, one of my least favorite decks in the game.
I'm surprised you put this one on here.
Okay, well, we'll see. So really, May 18th to October 19th.
Yes. It looks like it took a break there for a little bit. Took a break for a month or something.
Yeah,
there it is. Spellbooks.
Oh, God.
Spellbooks?
Yes.
Why is this number one, Herf? Why is this number one?
Because, A, it was a one mini box deck. One of the cheapest decks in history. Okay? B, it was one of the most consistent and strongest decks in the history of Duel Links. As well as, like, when it was relevant, when it was in the hands of a good player, it won every game. Like when somebody like Edu played this deck,
oh my God,
good luck. All right,
you guys might not know it, but people just called him Edu God. If you'd ever seen him play Spellbooks, it was masterful.
When someone like Tom V. Delzen played this deck,
never heard of him.
You've never heard of Tom V. Delzen?
No, I have.
Dude, you're lying. You're lying. Stop the cap. Okay? When one of the dedicated gods of Spellbooks came down from the heavens to play this deck,
it was degenerate.
They absolutely dominated every single person.
Yes.
Because this deck had more searchers than anything else, and it had the most broken form of disruption probably still in the game, like to this day.
Fate is ridiculous, isn't it?
Spellbook of Fate is either non-targeting banishing or a flip down. Two of the best forms of disruption in the same card.
Yes.
Plus, you had the magician or silent magician, which gave you a negate as well. Plus, this is back when you can play treacherous.
Yeah.
Okay, what do I need to say anything else?
Do you remember how many fates they could pull off in a game? Wasn't it like 5? I can't remember. There was because you could keep looping them back with the eternities and everything. There was like a certain
list. I think it was like 5 or 6.
Yeah, it was just stupid.
Because
and the other decks at the time couldn't keep up with it, and that's why we were talking Dark Magician earlier. Dark Magician's a very similar deck to this, where if they went or if Spellbooks went first and got their fate on the field, you're just like, I can summon one monster. What am I supposed to do? You're gonna fade it.
So if you go second into Silent Magician plus Fate, and you lose.
Right. What are you gonna do?
Okay. Because if you have a Cosmic Cyclone, great, negated. And if you don't have a Cosmic Cyclone, great, you lose. Okay, good game. Shake hands, game 2.
Right.
It's an absolutely unbelievable. Like, the only reason that this deck came down in power level at all is because Sealed Tombs became a meta skill. Sealed Tombs allowed you to stop them from using Fate and then establish your board and hope that you can like disrupt them enough to like not be faded anymore.
Right. Those fates were such a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like the only deck that could really keep up with this deck at the time was like Sealed Tombs Blue Eyes. Sealed Tombs Blue Eyes could really kind of detracted a lot of the power from Spellbooks because of A, they could shut off the Fate, and B, they could banish the Fate using Dragon Spirit of White, so they didn't actually have to use a spell to banish it, or they could use something like Snipe Hunter to destroy it when it actually resolved and like did the actual effect that you wanted to instead of just doing nothing. But I mean, really, this deck had more searchers, and this guy's not even playing Crescent. Crescent in and of itself is an insane card. Because
now it's great. Back then, you'd play it played at 1 at most, but now they play it a lot more, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think they still play it at 1 because it's one of those cards where it's like if you open it, great, and if you don't, you just blue boy grab it and then do it anyways. So, and then the reason that this deck actually got a lot better is because they played a skill called Light and Dark, which made
yeah, that's right.
Silent Magician searchable.
Yep.
For free. Off if you just had any other dark magician, like dark spellcaster type, like in your hand, you could just swap it for a Silent Magician. Right. which made Blue Boy or Fate plus Silent Magician that much more like consistent. So you could search like 3 or 4 times in a turn, plus have a negate set up for next turn with a non-targeting banish. Okay, video's done. Like I kid you not, I would go into the Spellbook channel in DLM pretty much every single day and say, "Can this deck please die? Thanks." That is how much I hate this deck.
Wow.
But
and really, with that,
I genuinely hate it so much. I mean, it was around for like a year and a half or more. So it's I think officially we could call it the longest lasting deck.
Yeah, because it was one of those where it would go away and then it would come back because something would change, and then it would go away and then come back because something changed. And we've seen it a little bit recently, because there has been some new spellbook support, but it never hasn't gotten back to that level of power that it once had.
Yeah, I mean, we have Priestess and Wisdom, which are both really, really good. I mean, Priestess, you can reveal 3 spellbook cards in your hand to special summon it, and then you can pop a card on the field. It's pretty good. Wisdom just says you're immune to traps, so it's like kind of a bit of a stun card, like protection from disruption. But the 2 cards that would still to this day make this like an amazing deck is if we got Knowledge or Judgment. If we get either of those cards in Duel Links, the game is over. I'm deleting Duel Links, and I'm just gonna go spend a week in the woods by myself, contemplating life. Okay, I kid you not. If Judgment or Wisdom come into the game, I am just going to become a man of the wild. Okay, I live in Minnesota. There's plenty of wilderness. I'm just gonna go and I'm gonna discover my manhood. Okay, that's what I'm gonna do. Honestly.
All right, Herf. I don't even know what to say to that, but we're 50 minutes into this video now, so I'm going to wrap it up. But I hope you guys like this one. This was our most in-depth top 10. If you made it to the end, what should we have them type in the comments? We should have them type something. Manhood. Herf's manhood. Type Herf's manhood in the comments if you made it all the way to the end.
And you get a cookie.
Yeah. Herf's manhood. So make sure you get our Discord, because that's where we host all of our tournaments. You can get new player help if you need it. Check Herf out on Twitch at Herfy. What is it? Ooh.
Herfy.
Check that out. And I guess that's about it. Check out our tournaments. They're lots of fun. Damage Step is coming up, so check that out too. All right, guys. I'm Circus. That's Herf.
See ya.
We'll see you next time.